All right, welcome to this episode of the Entrepreneur Insider Secrets podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about public speaking and how you can use public speaking to boost your business. This is another one of the avenues that you can use and get your name out there and really establish yourself with a lot of authority and credibility. And there's just something about you being on a stage, whether it be virtual or physical, about being on that stage and presenting yourself as an authority or as a subject matter expert about a certain topic. There's something about it. When you stand on that stage, people look at you differently. They react to you differently. They view you as an authority. They view you as a person who knows your stuff, that you're a go-to person for this topic, for this subject matter. And it becomes an incredibly powerful way to establish yourself. And, there's this trust factor that gets built in, like, wow, I just heard so-and-so speak on this topic, and man, they really seem knowledgeable. They really know what they're doing, man. I would trust their guidance. I would trust their views and opinions because they really were sharp. They really presented well. They really knew what they were doing. And so it really unlocks a lot of different things. It really establishes you. It builds credibility. It puts you on a stage. It puts you on a different playing field than what it was before, because you may have been the exact same person before the speech that you were after the speech. You knew all the same things. You were just as skilled before as you were after you gave the speech, but suddenly you got your position elevated. You got put on a stage whereby all of a sudden you're now viewed as an authority. You're viewed on a different playing field. And I know in past times when I would speak on a stage, particularly when there were several hundred people in the audience, and I would walk off and you would, see people in the hallways and breaks and so forth, and people look at you differently. All of a sudden, people are walking up to you asking if they can get a picture taken with you, asking you questions, thanking you so much for what you had just shared in your talk, and going through all these things. And you just have this feeling like, wow, they're looking at me differently. Like I'm a rock star. Like I'm a different person than what I was before I stepped on that stage. And it's just this strange thing. It just elevates you in their eyes. It positions you. So when you get there and you do that, and if you do it well, you give a good speech, what really happens is it unlocks a lot of more opportunities for you. Because at the end of your speech, you can say, hey, if you would like to engage with me further, here's how you could do so. Go to this website, enter your name and email, and I'll send you a free guide or a free tool or whatever it may be. And all of a sudden you're getting leads and you're getting lots more people connected with you, lots more people following you. You get partnerships because somebody may have seen your speech and go, wow, I want to, I think we would be great working together. We could do something together. You really clearly know what you're doing. You're really clearly an authority. And, I'm really good at this stuff. So maybe we could work together to do something. And, sometimes you can get in the press with a speech. And I know people who have done TED Talks, and they have been able to use that to get, as a marketing label. If you're a person who's done a TED Talk, which, there's a lot of opportunities to do those. Those are, a lot of people have had that chance to get that done. It really just kind of puts another check mark next to your name, right? It puts you in a position where you're like, oh, you were a TED speaker. Like, wow, you are an authority, right? Because they don't just bring in anyone off the street. You have to be an authority in your space. And that, can in turn lead to higher paying clients. When we ran our annual conference and we would speak on stage, then we would then at the end offer the opportunity for people to come and join a mastermind with us. And that was our highest paying product. It was a higher paying mastermind program. And we sold lots of them all from the stage because people reviewing this as that authority figure. And I want to be in a small group with that authority figure. I want that authority figure working with me because that'll really make a difference in my life. And again, it just elevates you. It puts you in a different category. It puts you in that different playing field. And so some of the things we're going to be talking about today is like, how do you put together this for yourself? How do you position yourself? And the first thing that you have to do is you kind of have to overcome your fear of all of this. Because let's be honest, even though it really isn't that complicated, public speaking is one of the things that makes people extremely nervous. Getting in front of a group of people and speaking just can make some people very, very shaky and very unsure of themselves and very nervous. And it's something that brings out a lot of the fear, brings out the imposter syndrome in many of us, where we just feel like, well, people are going to realize once I'm on stage that I'm not as good or as knowledgeable, as talented as I would like them to think I am. And I'm going to be found out and exposed, and it's all going to happen in front of everyone. All of those things can start to happen. All of those things can start to be, going through your head as you're starting to do that. And there's a lot of those things that can really mess you up. It can make your talk go from a great opportunity to kind of a mess. And I want to talk about a few of those things before we start here, because one of the things that's very important is that you go onto that stage confident. And here's one of the primary things that I know, and I've noticed over and over with talking to many people who have done speeches, going through this process many times myself, is there's one fundamental difference between the people who are smooth and calm and professional and doing a great job, and the people who are scared and nervous and shaky and kind of fumble the opportunity. And that is, the people who are going on to stage and who fumble it are the people that are on stage thinking about themselves. And I learned this early on, because when you're thinking about yourself, you're like, do I have everything figured out? Do I have all? And usually their speeches are like mapped out to the word. They have everything scripted. And then they're like, oh shoot, I got, I said the wrong word here. Or and I look at it and I go, okay, your focus is totally on yourself as the speaker. Your focus is on me and what do I need to do and what I need to say and how do I need to present? How do I need to look? How do I need to stand? How do I need to move my hands? And there's all these things that you can start obsessing over, and all these things that you can just make your complete and total focus, which is, I need to think about me. I need to think about me. And as long as the focus is on you, you're going to get nervous. You're going to get scared. You're going to get shaky. And I've noticed it in myself. I've let myself start thinking about, well, did I do this right? Did I do that right? Did I stand correctly? Oh, I'm slouching a little bit. I should stand up more straight. All this stuff. And what I noticed is that my speeches were not nearly as good as long as all of my focus was on myself. Conversely, as time went on, I started thinking about it. I thought, why are you so worried about yourself? This speech isn't about you. This speech is about the people in the audience. Stand on that stage and do everything that you can to help them. Teach them something that you know. Share with them the things that you've learned. Help them. Guide them. Try to make their lives better. And when my attention went off of me and whether or not I was on exactly the right words, whether or not I was on exactly the right pace, whether or not I was using my hands correctly, and I just focused on how can I help this audience, I calmed down. All the shakiness went away. All the nerves went away. All the fear was gone, because the focus was no longer on me, and the focus was on them. How do I serve them? How do I help them? How do I make their lives better? And when I did that, all the fear went away, because I wasn't thinking about me anymore. I just relaxed. And when I relaxed, I started moving naturally. I didn't have to worry about where my hands were or if I was in exactly the right spot. And I stopped putting together speeches that were word for word. because that's one of the worst things that you can do as far as I'm concerned. Go up and have a word for word speech written out that you're going to give. And unless you are a person who has a teleprompter that you could literally stand behind a podium and just read the speech, like, people who are politicians do that. They stand there and they have speeches written for them by speechwriters, and they literally just stand behind a podium and just read the words and just deliver it. Unless you're going to be one of those people, it's not going to work very well. You're going to be very, very stiff if you try and have this speech memorized word for word. Instead, what I always focus in on is I give myself what I call guideposts. Okay, the first thing I'm going to talk about is this. The second thing I'm going to talk about is this. And I know generally what I'm going to say. And then I just start going. And I try and keep track of my time. I try and watch the clock like, oh, all right, I know that I should be, by point number 3, I should be about the 10-minute mark. So, and it's 12 minutes. So I need to speed, I need to pick up the pace a little bit. So I kind of know from a time perspective whether or not I spent too much time on a certain idea or I didn't spend enough. But I just give myself those high points. Like, okay, first we're going to talk about this. Then when we're done with that, we're going to start talking about that. And then the next point is this. And I feel like those are almost like corners to a racetrack. Okay, I'm going down the first stretch. Okay, then I'm coming into the first turn. Then I'm going around that corner. I'm coming to the second turn. And I know in my head the guideposts. Boop, boop, boop. And I hit each one. And then at the end, I run to the finish line and we're done. And it's much more simple. I don't have to memorize an entire speech and try and get all the words crammed into my head. And then you stand up there and you're like, oh crap, I lost my place and I forgot what I was supposed to say next. No, you relax because I know, okay, the next topic is blank. And it's so much simpler and it's so much easier. And it takes all of the pressure off. So how do you create that talk? What is it that you do to create a talk that can connect? Well, there is a structure to doing this, believe it or not. First thing is I always like to connect with the audience. I always like to go in and I like to have a connection with them, and so they know that they're in a good place. Like, they're not going to sit there and go, why am I listening to this person talk? Because we've all been there. We've all been in a place where we listen to a speaker and we go, okay, I don't know why I'm here. This isn't, I'm listening to a talk on something I have no interest in. This is not for me. No, you want to connect with them. You want to hook them in and you want to establish that relationship at the front. So you tell something to let them know and you're connecting with them and you're having a little bit of that moment of where you're kind of having that initial, first time you meet somebody, shaking their hand and introducing yourself. You're having a little bit of that where you're having that connection point, where you're having that moment where you are getting to know each other a little bit. And then you start talking and telling a story, and you start talking about a problem that and this is where you have to know your audience. You have to know what the audience is that you're speaking to. You start talking about a problem that audience is likely to have. And then you start sharing, and if you're struggling with this, it's probably because you're trying to do things like this, or you're trying to do things like that. And the issue is that those methods are always going to lead you to failure. And they're going, oh, that's true. That's exactly what I've been trying to do. And I've been working at this for a long time and it doesn't work. And I'm frustrated and nothing is happening and it's not going right for me. And I don't know why. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm so frustrated. This is so discouraging. And then you go, well, I'll tell you what, here's the reason it doesn't work, because of X, Y, and Z. And then they go, you're kidding. This is never going to work, is it? And they have that little moment of wow, this is why I'm not getting the result that I wanted. This is not why this isn't working for me, because I'm sitting here going, I'm trying to do something that fundamentally will never work. And no matter how much I try and improve myself, no matter how much I try and do it differently, it's never going to get me the result. It's never going to work. And so then they go, well, then how should I do it, right? And then you share with them the right way. You share with them, well, this is how you should be doing it. This is how you should be doing this process. And then they have this epiphany and they go, oh my goodness, that's the answer. That's the way I should be doing it. That's how I should be approaching this problem. This is amazing. This is fantastic. This is wonderful. And then at the end, you're not giving them all the nitty gritty of everything, because that would take far too long, but you're just showing the idea and the concept and the strategy and the notion behind everything of why you should be doing things this way. This is how it is. And they have that epiphany moment where they sit there and go, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I get it now. Like, if you ever had a moment like when you're like perhaps in your kitchen and you're trying to do something and you're messing with some tool in the kitchen and you can't figure out how it works, and then like your spouse comes along and looks at you and just do it this way, and all of a sudden that light bulb goes off in your head and you go, huh, that's why that didn't work. And suddenly when I tried to do it the way that she just showed me, now it works. And I go, huh, that's why I was doing it. That's why it wasn't working, because I was doing it wrong. Well, that's the same type of feeling you want to create in your audience. And they're going, oh my goodness, that's it. And then the next step in that process is going to be, hey, well, can you help me? Can you assist me in this process? Because now you have shown that you're the expert, right? They're looking at you saying, wow, you know how to do this. You know how can I work with you to get this done? Because, this isn't just like in the kitchen where you're learning how to use a can opener. This is something that's more complex. This is more involved. This is more detailed. And so they're sitting there now looking at you going, how can you help me? How can you help me get this done? How can I work with you? And then at the end, you could say, hey, if you have more interest in learning about how I can help you, work with you to do this, put your name and email and phone number on, in the back, there's a table where put your name, email, and phone number down, and I will reach out to you and we'll set up a time where we can talk. Bam. All of a sudden you have all these people who are like, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you because I need to work with you to get this done. This is amazing. And so you have this blend where you're starting off and you're telling them a story, and the story about why they're struggling, and the story about how you went through a similar journey, and a story about how you understand and you went through it all. And now at the end, you understand the right way to do things and how things have changed for you since you figured it out and put it all together. And when you do that and you combine that with a clear invitation of what they should do next, how they should connect with you, what their next thing should be, you've created a powerful, powerful talk. And by doing it in a story format, which is really important, you keep them engaged. The worst thing that you could do is get stuck telling them a lot of data or a lot of information and just overload them with that type of thing. No, what you want to do is everything you want to tell them in the form of a story. Tell them, instead of just showing them data about the numbers, tell a story of how that impacted you or someone you know. Tell a story about all of that, because think about it. Which is more engaging to watch? A story that read a white paper that gives all sorts of data and information about something, or to watch a movie that tells a story about somebody who went through that thing? Well, obviously, a movie is much more entertaining to watch, because that's how our minds are geared. That's how we are built as human beings, is to learn through story. So make sure that you're always using stories in your talks, because that's what will keep people engaged. That will keep people on the edge of their seat. It will keep them moving forward. And so when you're doing that and you've tailored your message for your audience, when you have made sure that you have tailored everything so that it speaks directly to who your audience is, you've got a home run on your hands. And that's, kind of like the last piece, is to make sure that you know your audience before you go into this, because if you know your audience and you speak directly to their needs, to their problems, to their goals and desires, you got a home run, because they're all going to be jumping up and down going, this is amazing. How do I connect with you? This is exactly what I want. How do I get started? In fact, I've had those moments where I've had people that literally walked up to me and said, David, stop talking. You know, when on a one-on-one conversation, like, David, just stop talking, because I'm how do I work with you? I don't need to hear anything else. I just need to hear how can I start working with you? And so it is an amazing opportunity to, you know, get people when they're in the right audience, to get them to build your business, to build your authority, to get them started with you. So you may be asking, well, how do I do this? How do I get more speaking opportunities? How do I get more chances to get on stage? Well, there's a number of different ways that you can do this. In the world that we live in, speaking opportunities are out there more than you probably even realize. You could do what I'm doing right now, which is a podcast. You can start your own, which isn't honestly all that hard. And with the tools that are out there, I just use StreamYard to broadcast my podcast episodes, and I have somebody that helps me upload them to you know, the podcast software, and it all just gets loaded in there. And now, if anybody wants to learn more from me, I have a whole series of podcast episodes that they can go and learn from and hear me speak and learn what I'm about. And lots of people go, and if you want to get practiced and you want to get better at being a public speaker, you'd be amazed at how many local organizations are constantly looking for speakers. Now, those opportunities are not paid more often than not, but there's still opportunities to get in there and speak. And you can start honing your speaking skills. You can start, you know, the local chamber events, the local, you know, all sorts of local business community events that are going on. They're constantly looking for someone to come speak. And so getting that opportunity, put your name in there, start putting your information in and letting them know that you're willing to come and speak. Doing a webinar, doing a live training online, going online on you know, social media and doing video. It all works the same. It all works to the same level. And the more that you do it, the more comfortable you get, the more confident you get, the more smooth your presentation becomes, the more adept you are at handling all the things that are laid out in front of you. You can start knocking these things out very, very smoothly, and your skill level just keeps growing and growing and growing. And so when you do all that, and then you can start saying very effectively, I'm very confidently, that, you know, you could position yourself as a public speaker. You've done this enough now, and you can start pushing yourself more and more to get on other people's podcasts. And there are services out there. Podmatch is one of them, where they go out and you can sign up to be a guest on other people. You put your name in the system, and podcast hosts that are looking for guests will reach out to you, and they will start to reach out and, you know, see about having you as a guest on their podcast. And now all of a sudden you're getting in front of all these other audiences. And honestly, podcasts have become a tremendous way for you to get exposure, for you to get on and to get known, but in front of different audiences, because people are going to start to get to know you. And so to do that, you know, what you can do is put together a little one sheet that kind of summarizes who you are, what your topics are that you're really good at speaking about, you know, other places that you've been a speaker on, other opportunity, you know, times that you've been on stage, you know, and you can utilize all that and start to utilize that to leverage yourself onto other platforms. And so you have all that. And then you have, you know, you can take the clips from all of those things. And let's say you're on someone's podcast and you have a video of that, and they share the video of you on that podcast. You can then go and share that on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, on different places. You could share that and put that out there. And so people could see, oh, wow, you could, you know, turn it into clips and shorten it. Just do short little clips. If it's like an hour-long talk, you can do short little clips of some of the highlights. You can turn them into blog posts. You can use emails to market your talks and send out emails about, the speaking opportunities that you've had. You can, if you did a really good one and it was a great talk that you did on something, you can turn that into a lead magnet and say, hey, I was able to give a speech about this. If you'd like to hear it, just put your name and email and I'll send you the talk. You can use it as a lead magnet. There's so many different uses and different things that you can do with all that. So you just have to be willing to kind of get started. And when you get started, you put yourself out there, you put yourself in that position, and bam, all of a sudden you're getting different uses for it. You're getting, different opportunities. You're getting your name out there more and more, and you're on a bigger and bigger platform. And as you continue to do that, the more you do that, the more opportunities are going to happen for you. And because people are going to be looking at you, oh, wow, they've been on this podcast, this podcast, this podcast. Wow. A lot of people are having them on as a guest. They're impressive. I better have them too. And so the opportunities even increase into bigger and bigger podcasts because they're interested. Like this person's been getting around on all these different platforms. They must be pretty good because people keep inviting them on. And so you can do all that. And again, the more that you do it, the smoother you're going to get. The smoother this whole process is going to go, the easier it's going to get. And, if you're just a person that says, man, I'm really raw, I'm really new, I just need to get started, join Toastmasters. Join a group like that just to practice getting up in front of people and doing it live and just giving a talk. Set up, go on social media and just start presenting and giving doing a short little video. Nothing will get you ready better than doing it. And you've heard me talk about this many times in the past episodes. If you want to get good at something, the best way to get good at it is to do it. And so much of this is, if you want to learn, when you're a kid, if you wanted to learn how to ride a bike, you didn't go read a book about bike riding. You didn't go watch a video about bike riding. You got on a bike and you started pedaling. And, you messed up the first few times, I'm sure. I don't know any kid that the first time they get on a bike, they just took off and had it. Some of us get it faster than others, but eventually we all get it. But you have to get on and you have to do it. You have to just, you fall over a few times. It's okay. You just kind of catch yourself, you pick yourself up and you go again. And it's the same process. If you want to get good at public speaking, you need to be speaking publicly. That's simply it. And I've given you a template and a format that you can use in this episode. So hopefully that was helpful to you and you could do that. But then join these groups, get feedback from people, have people that you trust watch the video and give you feedback. And when I say honest feedback, there's always going to be people out there that no matter what you do, they're never going to say a negative word. And I don't mean that you want to find people that are going to look at you and say, oh man, you are terrible, blah, blah, blah. You are the worst. You suck so bad. You don't want that, but you want people who have the courage to give you constructive criticism. Because the only way you will get better, the only way you will improve, the only way you're going to step up to that next level and get better is if someone says, hey, I think this part could be better. You're doing well at this and this, but I think this part could actually be better. And when you have that person in your life who's willing to give you that constructive criticism, now you know how to work. Now you know how to improve. You're looking at it going, if I did this and I did that, okay, these are some actual things that I can work on. These are some things that I can work to improve. Or if you're doing a video of yourself, watch yourself on the video. Spend time afterwards, just watch yourself on the video and be honest with yourself. And don't beat yourself up, because most of the time we beat ourselves up so bad that we never want to go online again. But do it and just be honest with yourself. Okay, that was good. I think I did pretty well at that, but I need to get a little better here. And when you do that, you're going to continuously improve. And you do it, and you do it, and you do it. Do a video every week or more if you can. but just do it until you get to the point where it starts to becoming natural. So to wrap things up, a few thoughts here. Mastering public speaking isn't about being perfect. It's not about always having all the right words. It's not about never stumbling or ever making a mistake, because we all do in every talk that we give. But it's about being clear, confident, and connected to your audience. And when you really do that and you demonstrate value and you help people, people are going to be excited to hear from you, regardless if you're as polished as, somebody else. Someone else may be smoother. Someone else may give a better delivery. They may do a better job of all that, but you were authentic. You were genuine, and they heard your heart, and they heard from you, and were like, wow, that was valuable. That was useful. I really liked that. And when you learn how to do this effectively, you will be opening doors. Absolutely. You will be opening doors. You will be creating opportunities for yourself, and you're going to grow your business, plain and simple. So if there's anything that we can help you out with that, obviously inside of Design, Launch, Grow, we have an amazing speaking coach, Lisa Mosier, who is fantastic at this. So if you would like help putting this together for yourself, check us out at Design, Launch, Grow. Like I said, we have one of the best speaking coaches around who can help you put together your message and your talk very effectively. Otherwise, I hope this is helpful to you, and I will see you again in the next episode.